Call your sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you sponsor. Call you.
Losing a job in my first 9 months of sobriety, and I was bawling my eyes out, and I went to my neighbor's house, and his girlfriend had 3 years, which to me at that time felt like she had 27 years, So, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I can't believe I lost. And she was like, yeah, but no matter if you have a job or not, you always have a primary purpose, and that's to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. And just the fact that in my life when I was out there, it was like my primary purpose was to get my cheek on a cold tile floor.
Yeah. And I remember one time I was in Vegas, just when you said cheek on floor, that I would put microwave popcorn in the microwave, and I didn't pop it all the way, and it was about 4 or 5 a.m. and I took the bag out, threw it on the floor, and the butter and grease was all over it, and I was taking my cheek and just rubbing it along the floor. I was so classy back in the day.
Yeah.
So
I was absolutely feral. I was just feral. I grew up feral. I started drinking, and it was just like, oh, that's your boyfriend? Great. That's who I want to sleep with this evening, And I was just a tornado wrecking through everyone's lives. And then I come in these rooms, and for me, this is the way I did it, was like, oh, who do y'all want me to be? Okay. And I started wearing tennis shoes. I started bringing a thing of water, and I exercised. I still to this day have never exercised, And then I'm going into gas stations, and they give me 2 cents over the change. I'm like, oh, here's your 2 cents back. All of a sudden, I've turned into Mother Teresa in 42 hours,
How righteous.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember for the longest time, my higher power was Soul Cycle. When I first came in, for a few years, my spirituality consisted of, what was the most spiritual instructor at Soul Cycle,
That is amazing. See, I hadn't gotten that addiction. I remember I used to get jealous because everyone had workaholism. I'm like, I don't have it. I'm so jealous. I want workaholism. And now I've gotten it. And now I'm like, okay, when is Soul Cycle God going to kick in? I want that one now.
It's still here on Wednesdays, but that's it. I mean, the point that I was there all the time, but whatever. I mean, but I have to, something to circle back around. Some people, and even if in our lives, and this is what I got from you, what you were saying too, is what that woman was saying who had the 3 years, is that even if I accomplish nothing else in my life, I have accomplished the ability to stay sober, because not to be a buzzkill for a second, but I've known so many people over the years that haven't gotten to this point that you and I are at. I forget how long you're sober, but I'm going on my 12th year. So I think there's a little, yeah.
Oh wait, God. Wait, 93. I got sober in 93. So yeah, May 8th will be 31.
That is and I'm not. I was about to ask how old you are, and I ought to be shot.
Well, I mean, it's amazing that I got sober at 12. It's just so wild.
God, you did it through puberty,
right?
And if that is not
just an embryo,
spirituality or a higher power, then that nothing else should be.
Yeah,
so good for you,
sober, ladies and gentlemen. So
yeah, it saved my life,
right.
For sure. I was like, dude, you're getting way too puffy. You got to do something about that.
Oh my God. I saw a picture of myself. I swear I was maybe 9 months sober. And I saw a picture of me just about 6 weeks before I got sober. And I'm on the dance floor, and my face is the puffiest. I mean, I weigh 78 pounds probably soaking wet, but my face is like a balloon. It was just it's a really attractive look.
I post I find it before and then now every year to post on my birthday, and it's the same thing. It's my body's thinner and then my head looks like a basketball, and I do it simply because of the vanity that I love.
Right.
People are going to comment on it. They're like, oh my God, you don't even look like who you are. And it's there's something amazing in that. It really
We
is.
deserve that. We deserve that little pat on the head, even if it's just for ourselves and everyone else. Y'all can weigh in. But of myself, I'm proud of myself. And I do like the primary purpose just because it grounds me into something, even if even if the primary purpose is just to be in recovery in any room, it's just that some people, like to your point, don't know that they have a primary purpose in life and they're wandering around aimlessly. And even if I can just go back to that little touchstone sometimes when I'm in fear, like you have a primary purpose and it's to help others.
Yes, and then what that primary purpose for me does is that everything else that I've excelled in life, I take that primary purpose. Like, oh, what's the purpose with me going back to school? What's the purpose of me, because in the last video, it's like, what's the purpose of me doing this? And it like has carried over, and I know that we do this. I do this because I wanted to experience a fuller and bigger life. Right? I wanted a bigger life because my life was so small too. My head was big, but my life was really small. But it's like, now it's like everything that I've learned in these four walls, I take out and, I experience in life. And to me, that is the reason, like, for the traditions and for the changes, because like you get a taste of that and it's like, I am never gonna I'm never going back for that. And that is also what I try to tell my sponsees as well. Like when they get stuck in certain places, or if they've made if we have a certain agreement that they're not living up to, listen, I've had 3 sponsors. I chose one to start off with who was soft, but he let me have it when I needed to, and he scared me. My second one, I went the Hollywood route, so I could get invited to the Hollywood parties. And he was like, I took that route, but I stopped going that route because I would go to his house once a month on Tuesday, and everybody that went to that meeting, some of them had like 20, 25 years, and they didn't know what page Chapter 5 started on. And so I was like, no. And so I knew then that I needed more substance. And so then I chose chose who I'm with now. And this man is just, he like walks and talks the walk, and I love that. And so when I try to tell my sponsees, listen, if you want to experience the change of what's going, not just being sober, but your whole life, you got to do it, and I make sure that I don't get also, I don't want to say stuck, because I don't think people who don't, what a full life to me is different to what a full life is to everybody else. Right. And it's all open to interpretation, but it's like, for myself, I want to be able to I learned how to snowboard sober. I learned, I went back to school sober. So, I broke my wrist sober, it's like, I just mean that it's like the ability to, to not be fearful of the change anymore, to not be fearful of it, to take it as it comes, I think is a very powerful thing of sobriety. And, also who in the beginning you choose to link up with,
Yes. Yeah.
Aren't our sober people and our emotional sober people, isn't it important, like, who we hang out with? Like, you got to sync up, because I didn't sync up with the Hollywood, my Hollywood. It's just, I was like, I've made it. I have arrived, so.
Well, they say stick with the winners, which means you have to judge people. And I say that to people that I work with too. They're like, I don't want to be judging. I'm like, you have to judge people. Like, one, your mind is judging everything all day, every day, whether you want it to or not. So just lean into that. And it does say stick with the winners, which means you have to judge people's programs. And is that where your flower is going to grow in the sun or grow in the shade? Like, it's okay to judge things. And then another thing you brought up for me is the people that I work with and sponsor, is that I just say, like, you get out of this whatever you put into it. And I'm not attached. If you want to call me 5 days a week, 7 days a week, you're going to get a lot out of it. If you want to call me once a month, you're not going to get as much out of it. But I I give zero fucks how much you put into it. I care way more what I'm putting into it.
See, I love that.
Something about that gets these girls calling me 7 days a week, which is not. I mean, it's great.
Did it.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
But my brand sponsor said that. She said, because my sponsor at his birthday, he was celebrating 37 years, and there was a party, and I was like, who is this? I was like, isn't this my grand sponsor? And he introduced me, and I love her because she's been with her for so long. And she goes, I said, well, how many sponsors do you have? And she's like, I don't know, like 40. And she said, some call me, some do, some don't. And she said, I'd rather they did it. And I just loved her because she didn't mean that, she's not going to answer the phone. She just means that like, she hopes they're living and like have learned enough and like are also having their sponsees call them. So
Exactly. Okay, we are at our final 5, and we didn't do our primary purpose, but we're going to do it on the next one. Okay, I forgot. Speaking of change.
You gotta walk me through that.
Yeah. Okay. Change. Okay. Your question for our final 5 is, what recently is the biggest change that you've noticed about yourself?
Well, I already touched on this too. Is the ability to, because I'm alone a lot. And it was always the ability, I need to be with somebody. And it's not to be with have to be with somebody. The want of being with somebody who links up and shares something that I'm looking for, So the biggest change for me has just been the ability to just, not give a fuck,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, right now, that's where I'm at. It's like, I just feel very serene, but I've never been busier in my life.
What?
Like, I've never been busier as I am right now, which is great. It's funny, you accomplish something and you think it's the hardest thing you've ever accomplished, and then you level up and then you're like, God, this is even harder. So, it's been that's ACA, by the way. I mean, I'm glad to be sober, but that really is ACA. And it's also to the lack of this. When I say this to you, the reason being is because the guilt and shame that I had is really gone, and I feel free.
Yeah. You exemplify that, by the way. Like that was one of the first things that really, when I sat in the rooms of ACA and saw you come in, I felt the lightness of being, the heaviness of guilt and shame wasn't weighting you down. And that was one of the things that made ACA look attractive and like it worked, and that, you were like working that program and getting a lot out of it. So I do appreciate that you exemplify that.
Were you so sweet?
It's true. And then for me, the biggest change, I was trying to think about what it was recently, but one thing that comes to mind after what you shared is that I grew up in an era where a woman had to have a man. And my mom was very big on it. It was a revolving door. If one left, another one walked in. And that was what was exemplified for me. And if a man left, it was like, put on, the 20/20 glasses and where's the next one? And most recently, in the last few years, it has been about me meeting my needs and not feeling like there's any type of void whatsoever, and finally having this space where someone is allowed to come into my life and add to my life, but I am not willing to give up my peace of mind, my serenity, all the stuff that I've cultivated within my own cocoon of peace, love, and safety. Someone wants to bring more peace and love and safety, you are welcome. Somebody wants to take any 1 ounce of that away, and nothing. Yeah, goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Which is huge. I mean, that's just such a huge, huge difference that I didn't know if I would ever in my life see myself feel like that and feel comfortable and like truly mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, because we're going to attract people all the time. Now we know exactly what with the ones we want to let in.
Well, maybe Mark's attracting people all the time.
Oh,
No, it's so funny. A friend of mine who's like really concerned about me, like dating and everything. And she lives in Dallas. So her skew of the LA dating scene is,
right.
She doesn't understand. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying I'm rejecting men. I'm saying if a man has enough balls to walk up and ask me for my number and ask me out, great. But it's been a year and a half and they just talk. Like they just say, wow, it'd be so great to go out. I mean, they got it. I'm not doing the work for them. So,
girl, if you and I lived in New York, we'd be married. Like we'd be married because when you walk down the street in New York, it is like if somebody wants you there, they come up and they go, they're like, "What's up?" And then even if you're not the one, you become best friend. Friends walk into whatever your location is. Here, it's like a guy will like you or a girl will like you, and you turn around and they like run away. I was like, "What happened?" I'll be at Trader Joe's and they're following me around this like aisle and you see them peeking around the corner and then you turn around to say, "What's up?" And they're like, they run away. And that is LA dating in a nutshell, right?
Okay.
So
yeah, and friendships as well. Because I remember the first time I got invited to a girls' night when I moved here in like 2007. And, I baked something. I baked cheese grits because I'm Southern. And I made it. There was like 8 girls. They're so good. There were 8 girls on the text thread, right? And I get to the woman's house and I'm the only one there and I'm 30 minutes late because I couldn't find it. And she's like, "Oh yeah, everybody canceled like at the last minute." And I'm like, "What?" Like in Southerners, we just don't, we don't do that. Yeah. So, okay, good to know. It's an LA thing. I just got to move to New York now and find peace.
Oh, I'm telling you, I would be married, divorced, and then married again. It's like, it's one of my favorite places. It's just, you can get in your car and be alone, I like to get in my car, listen to the New Ariana Grande.
Dude. And Bitch Call Your Sponsor, which thank you all so much for joining us. I'm really, really grateful you were on and look forward. We're going to have some more coming up with Mark.
Thank you.
Call your sponsor.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
Send us an email with comments, questions, or concerns bcysponsor@gmail.com.
Don't forget to rate 5 stars.